750, Roger 6.
Got it, 6914. 15,100, climb flight level 190. Got 014, airport 700, clear post 310, should be a pretty good ride out. Alright, sponsor 707.
Hello and welcome to Shep Rambles, where I am Shep and I tend to ramble about what? Anything and everything. Yes, I know I don't do a whole lot of videos where I'm just sitting here in front of the camera instead of with my headset on reading some article or something like that. But this is a little bit of a different type of video, and it will actually have me with headphones and face cam because this is going to be a behind-the-scenes how it was made video on the most recent video that I made for Flight Simulator 4. It's for my series Flight Simulator 4 Adventures. And this is specifically going to be for Part 2, which was from Portland, Oregon to Sacramento, California. It was a very complex flight that I have put together. It's not just a simple matter of flying from one location to the other. I could have done that, but that's not what this series is about. The series is about pushing Flight Simulator 4 in ways that it was never pushed. Mainly because it's not like something anyone would have thought of at the time. Because the things to do it weren't available at the time, such as decent text-to-speech, where we've got some decent text-to-speech now, where you can mimic voices and have different voices and stuff. And it works decently. I mean, it's not perfect, but it works decently. But not only that, we didn't have quite the resources on the internet like we have now, such as being able to download actual ATC chatter files from local areas and really being able to add some realism to that. Plus, the editing software now is much better than it was back then. So that's what this whole series is about. It's about pushing Flight Simulator 4 in ways that, you know, it really wasn't thought of or dreamed about. Maybe it was dreamed about, but they didn't really see a way to be able to make it happen. Well, now we're making that happen, 30-some years later. 30 years, 20 years, when would it come out? 1991, and it's now 2019, so it's getting close to 30 years. But yeah, I'm having a blast doing things with this program. It's something that I didn't play with back when it came out. I was still on the Commodore Amiga computer. The Flight Simulator 2 from Sublogic, which was technically Flight Simulator 3, was similar to Microsoft Flight Simulators 3 and 4. The Microsoft versions were based off of the Amiga version and Atari ST version from Sublogic. But Microsoft pushed it further. We're able to do things with it where the Amiga one just, for example, scenery. For example, there wasn't really much scenery for the Amiga version. Even the Commodore 64 had more scenery. But with Flight Simulator 4, not 3 was limited to the those original scenery discs from Sublogic. But Flight Simulator 4 has got the USA West and USA East from Sublogic. Now, your first thought might be, and this was my first thought too, oh, this is just a collection of scenery discs 1 through 6 for the west side, and collections 7 through 12 for the east side. Because if you're a long-time simmer, you'll know that there are 2 scenery discs missing from those original Sublogic discs on the east side. One of them was in the Montana area, and the other one was around the Louisiana area. So my thought was, does it really include the whole east side? Well, I was pleasantly surprised about a couple of things. One, yes, it does actually cover the whole east side. The west covers the whole west side, but that's not the only thing. These have lifted the value of the scenery maybe 2 or 3 steps higher than what they were originally on the Sublogix scenery discs. So yes, you can use those old Sublogix scenery discs with Flight Simulator 4. This is actually an upgrade to that. The cities have more color. They have more little lights. They look kind of cool at night. There's more scenery in the cities than there were in the regular Sublogix scenery discs. So all in all, it's an upgrade. So if you can find these, I highly recommend it. Finding one that has working discs is another problem. Although I got these as a collection, there's like a couple discs that didn't work. They couldn't be read. Even though I could put it into a machine with a floppy and see the contents on there, when trying to copy those contents off into like a USB stick to try to salvage what's there before floppy disk goes bad, there were 2 discs I couldn't do it with. So I'm still working on getting a collection of working discs, so that way I can at least have an archive that's protected. But you can go to this website called like FS4 Webport, and for a small little donation to the guy who maintains that site, you'll have access to his FS4 collection, which will include USA West and USA East. So that was a godsend for me, because even though I paid for these, at least I have access to be able to use those sceneries. Because these sceneries have maps. And you won't have maps on the FS4 Webport. And these are not maps that you can just put to a scanner and scan. Okay? So this is the map, right? If I were to unfold this, it's this big. Hold on, I'm not done unfolding it. All right, so there you go. That's how big this map is, all right? This is USA East map number 1. Okay, so that's the north side of it. It's pretty big. It is really big. I thought this was supposed to be Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. This is east, not west. Okay, so is that Chicago? Or maybe Chicago's higher. That is, yeah, I think that's north. That's Wisconsin. But if we look at south, that's on the other side. Yeah, there we go. See, there's Chicago right there. But do you see that? That's big. I don't know. Do they have scanners that big? Heck if I know. So what I've been doing on these videos is I've been doing something called, there's like I divide them all up into chapters, and I put links to those chapters on the video. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, if you want to watch the whole video, but maybe just not watch it all in one sitting, the chapters will allow you to go back and pick up where you left off. I know sometimes YouTube will, if you go back to a video, it'll pick up where it left off, and then sometimes it won't. But that's why those are there. It also gives you kind of an idea of, oh, this is what's on the actual video. It kind of shows you the path that I'm taking. But another reason is you may not be interested in the whole video. You may only want to see certain parts of the video, and that's cool too. And that's another reason why I have those on there. Now, the flight planning is just one chapter where I go through and show this is how we're going to be making this flight. And I thought it would be a cool idea to actually use the map. So I set it on the floor and took a picture of it with my smartphone. I have a Note 8, and what's nice is that you can zoom in and still get some decent detail. So I set it down and took a picture, and what I do is put in these little graphics that show, okay, we're starting here, we're going here, we're going here, and until we end up at. So that's what I'm doing on that, just to give it, and also just to kind of, for those who have wondered what the USA West and USA East is like using it, you guys know that, oh, hey, there's a set of maps that, come with it, and it's just to kind of give you the full experience of making a flight, looking at the map and saying, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of the idea that I had behind that. Now, some of the other cinematics that I've been doing for FSX, I also use, I have this, not flight planner, flight briefing, that's what I call it. And I use I forget what the name of the program is, but I use that and load the flight plan up into it, and I do the flight briefing that way. But I didn't want to do it the same way with the Sublogic East and West. I wanted to actually use the map. I thought that would be a lot cooler. But here is some of my FS4 collection. I've got the Aircraft and Scenery Designer. I don't have a box for Aircraft and Adventure Factory. That was all I was able to get along with the disc. But if I do manage to come across a box copy, I will get it for my collection. The Sound and Graphics and Aircraft Upgrade. That's where it will add the engine sounds and everything. If you're looking to build up a Flight Sim 4 collection to be able to fly again and have some fun with, this is a must-have. The Sound Graphics and Aircraft Upgrade is a must. Absolute must. This also, the text-to-speech that you see on the flights, it also comes from this. However, you need to have a certain type of Sound Blaster card installed in order for that to work. It does work with DOSBox, which is what I'm running everything on. But getting that driver, it doesn't come with it. But again, at FS4 Webport, that driver that you need is in that guy's multiple installs that he's got of FS4. So as long as you get that, you'll get that driver and you'll be able to do that text-to-speech. Which is, if you've watched the video, the text-to-speech on that is not very good and can get really annoying after a while. But I wanted to include that in the actual flights so that, because I noticed no one else on YouTube did it. I was curious. I was wondering what that text-to-speech sounded like or how it worked, and nobody did it. And so I went ahead and did that for my series, so that way those of you who are interested in FS4 or wanting to relive some memories with it will be like, oh, yep, I remember that text-to-speech. So what I did is I treated it as if it was a flight computer. I was kind of thinking of along the lines of Kit from Knight Rider, a talking computer on your plane. So I figured I'll use a little bit of creativity and role playing, and the plane will be talking to you. That's why I said, I am your flight computer, blah, 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 blah. Tune in, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, that's when it starts using the recorded ATC chatter and everything. But not only that, I also used the edit voice pack or something that they have for FS9 and FSX, where you can create your own phrases and words. I used that to be able to create some of the ATC that goes back and forth between the actual pilot to give it that personalized feel. And also I dug into the wave files of ProFlight Emulator, which can be used on FS9 and FSX and also X-Plane, and also prepared P3D. So I dug into those wave files and put together sentences, so that way there is a variety in the type of voices that were being spoken. And then in some cases I use some of the modern text-to-speech programs that are out there to create a little bit more personalized experience depending upon the location with a different voice. So I used a variety of different things for that. But I still have some stuff up here that I haven't utilized yet. The Scenery Enhancement Editor, which is also known as C4, SEE4. This allows you to actually make different types of buildings and shapes and stuff. I haven't really got into that yet. I'm hoping to do that with this FS4 Adventures series. But it also allows you to create custom ATIS messages. And I have been doing that with this FS4 series because the ATIS isn't there. And at least so far and where I've gone to in the Sublogic scenery disc. So I went ahead and created that, and I'll show that to you as well. Some other things I've got here, I got Japan, I've got Italy. Italy works with version 4 and version 5. If it says version 4, then you probably don't want to use it on version 5 because there's going to be something else that's better. So I'll be using that on version 4. Not for this series, this is a USA tour. But I might make something separate where just some separate flights around Italy. Just like Japan, some separate stuff around Japan. And I do have Grand Canyon. It's in here somewhere. And I'm working on a collection of some other things as well. But, so one of the things too, you may have noticed is the music. So I have written some custom music for the flight, and this is mainly for the editing part. And the idea behind having the music in there is it's kind of like a halfway type of thing that I've seen other YouTubers do. Some YouTubers just do the flight from one location to another. Sometimes they just do highlights, the takeoff and the landing. Some of them do part of the flight and do nothing but music. I'm doing a little bit of both. It's the actual flight. It's the whole flight. There are a little bit of editing cleanups that I'll do, like from going from external views to internal views, because when you do that, it tends to like do a quick redraw of the screen, so you don't. So it's like redrawing the cockpit just very quickly. So I'll trim out that to make it a little bit more cleaner. The transition's cleaner. But for the most part, what you see in the video is the actual flight. Or in some cases, I may pause it to do a save, or, well, you can't really save in the middle of adventure because you won't be able to pick it up where you left off. But I will mark down the coordinates that I'm at in case of a crash, which did actually happen twice on that part 2 video. So that way I can at least rerun the adventure and get back to that point of where I left off so I can continue recording. So editing things like that, just making sure no one was knocking on the door, which is not here. So there are some editing things there, but as far as editing and adding in ATC and chatter, no, that is actually all in the game itself. That's added through the adventure, the aircraft and adventure factory. And it's a very complex script. It took me weeks to try to figure out how it works. There is a program called ProPilot's Toolbox, ProPilot's Tools, which will take a flight plan, and that you create from another program. It's called like just Flight Planner, I think is what it's called. It takes that flight plan and converts it to an adventure. Unfortunately, initial PPT, it doesn't work. It throws an error. Maybe it's because it's on DOSBox. I don't know. And I was able to get a copy of that PPT from, again, FS4 web portal or web port, but it just throws an error. It doesn't work. So I took an existing adventure that someone had created based off of that program from flightsim.com, and I reverse engineered it to figure out how it works, why it works, and how I can customize it to do what I want, to not only create my own adventure based off of that programming, but to take it several steps ahead of it. Because the original adventure, it just has random air chatter while you're connected to center or whatever it is that they call it for that particular adventure. Mine, on the other hand, I have ATC chatter files being played all throughout it, and I will show you what it is that I do on that. But getting back to the music again is another thing that is added in during post-production, during the editing phase. So no, the music is not in the actual flight itself. Although there's a way to do it, I don't want to do it that way. That's just some editing things. So what I use is a program called Magix Music Maker, and I am using an old version of it because using the new version with new sound loops, although the music would sound great, it seems out of place. It seems out of place for this type of video. So I went with a very old version of Magix Music Maker that I had with several of these old sound loops. So there's like ambient chill, there's rock and pop volume 1 and 2, dance and house, there's rock and pop volume 1, techno trance, slow motion. Here's some other ones that I've got over here. There is jungle, drum bass and trip hop, house and techno, soul, funk, soul, R&B and funk, and rap, P-funk and hip hop. So, and you know, they're fun to play with. They're very retro sounding, and putting stuff together with it is a little bit of a challenge because some of these loops just don't mix with other ones. But it has been able to allow me to add some music segments to the video and have it feel like it belongs with it. Even though these came out around 1995 and FS4 was 98, somewhere around 89, 91, somewhere around there. I felt that this was close enough that if it was around 95, I may actually be still playing FS4 because I may not have a computer that was up to specs to play Flight Simulator 5 or for Windows 95 at the time, because that's when they started having textures on the whole ground. And some computers just weren't fast enough to be able to do that. So that was my thinking. So I'm using these to put that music together. And then on the one case where I did a music video, because the song that I put together, it's called the Groovinator, and I have a separate video of the Groovinator that you can watch. You don't have to, although you can click on the link for the chapter and the flight sim video to get to it. There's also a separate video that you can just go and look up. You'll see it. It's along with some other music videos that I did. It was just a fun one that I put together, and when I was listening to it, trying to put that into the flight, it needed something more. So that's why I turned it into a music video. And I thought the best way to make it look like it belongs with Flight Simulator 4 is to go through and find game footage of games around 95 or around 1989 to around 1991, 92, in that era. So I was looking for stuff that would kind of fit what was going on with that song. And so that was the idea behind that. So I'm kind of giving you some background information about the video itself, my thoughts behind it and everything. But what we're going to go ahead and do now is go into the actual flight itself. I'm going to show you some details in regards to the adventure program, and also kind of show you some of the things that I did in regards to the editing as well. So let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so here we are. I'm back with my headphones and stuff and the face cam. But anyway, let's go ahead and kind of show you things from an editing perspective, just as we're kind of going around here. I don't have any type of, as far as this video is concerned, I don't have this organized in any sort of way. I'm just kind of doing this as I go. So if it seems a little unorganized, just know that I'm trying to keep it real, I guess you could say. I don't know. Just keeping things honest. So anyway, so the very beginning of the video, this is just an intro that I had put together. I've used it on the FSX videos, but the music you can see is right here in green. But all these scenes right here, oh sorry, not these scenes, these are just part of the opening credits. Okay, so this stuff here, this is actually what I call my establishing shots. So all of these scenes that I'm recording here, this is all dynamic scenery that I created for the video using the Aircraft and Adventure Factory. So when you're doing dynamic scenery, you basically put your aircraft where you want it, you hit record, and then you stop, and boom, there's your dynamic scenery. So for some of these things where they're just static and they just sit there, I basically record it for like a second and then stop and put it on a loop, and there you go. Now, just so you know, you've only got so much space when it comes to dynamic scenery, and when you reach that amount of space, that's it. You can't put any more. So that's why you'll see on flightsim.com, and I think like avnet, is it avnet, avsim, no, avsim.net, some airports will come with their own dynamic scenery, and that's basically because they're trying to put as much dynamic scenery as they can, but you're limited to what you can put in there. I mean, you can't put an airport just full of aircraft going all over the place. There won't be enough space to do that. So when you're recording static imagery, just make sure you do it for about a second and stop it. Otherwise, you're going to be taking up unnecessary space that you don't need to. Originally, I did not think about doing establishing shots like this because I didn't do it for part one, other than just showing the aircraft that we're flying in, just kind of, zooming into it. The reason why I took all these establishing shots is because I had put work into the dynamic scenery, and I wanted you guys to be able to see it because it wasn't easily seen with me taxiing on the in the taxiways and taking off. It was hard to really see some of the scenery. So I did these establishing shots so that way you could see all the work that I was putting into it. So on one side of the airport, I got general aviation taken off here. I've got one plane here that's taxiing, and of course these titles are obviously added in editing, and I went with a retro like 90s computer font here, so that way it kind of fits. It kind of fits, you know, it blends in with the actual graphics. Now all the sound effects I added in post-production with the actual, because you can see down here in green, these are the actual sound effects, and I used them straight from the game to give it to really pop that video out. And this is not the actual flight, this is just some editing magic here. So I would do things like have the audio go from, you know, quiet to louder to make it look like it was approaching you. So that's what all this here is. And this is another part of some dynamic scenery. So this is one of the planes that was landing, and basically how I recorded it is I was a little bit of a distance from the airport. I get there by slew mode. Basically, I take off first, so that way I'm at least at a, you know, stable flight, and then pause it, go into slew mode, go to this part that I want to start my recording, start recording, land the aircraft or take it off, whichever, and then taxi it to the runway or taxi it to the terminal, and then stop the recording. So we have a couple. I know my screen's cut out a little bit here, but there's a couple of aircraft. There's one here, there's one over here in the corner that you can kind of see. They don't move, but then you've got this one here that's moving. And so here's a jet here. The sound effect, again, it starts off soft and gets louder to give it the impression that it's coming close. Again, this is one that I recorded, and I like to think of them as macros. That's pretty much what it is. You know, you record a macro and then just play it back. And that's one that it starts off at the terminal, and I just taxi it over to the runway and take off. And I just go a little bit of a distance, and then I stop the recording. Now you can record it. You got it. You know, you can record an aircraft going from one airport to another if you want to, but keep in mind that takes up space, and you're limited in space as far as what you can put into a dynamic scenery file. Now with Flight Simulator 95 and, well, not 95, I haven't done it with 95 yet, but 98 and Flight Simulator 2000, with those, the only way to get air traffic in there is doing it the same way as it's here on FS4, but there's not a limit on FS98 and FS2000 with the where does that name of that program? I forget the name of the program. Just watch my FS98 and 2000 videos, and I talk about it there. But those aren't limited, so I've got aircraft going from one air. I actually take the time to fly an aircraft from one airport to another, and some of them I don't go that far, but I try to give it a little. I try to put a little bit more in the air to give it that, to make it look like the skies aren't empty. But then we've got the establishing shot here of the aircraft that we're flying. Now, one thing that I haven't figured out, and I don't know if that's just a limitation of the program, if it's the fact that it's running in DOSBox, I don't know. But you'll notice here that for some reason these objects are transparent, and I have no idea why that is. But it happens with all this dynamic scenery. Not here, but during like the horizons and stuff. It winds up being transparent, and it was going to happen here, and I kind of cut off the editing before it did that. But that's all of this establishing shots. That's what these are. It's all the dynamic scenery. I just position my aircraft with slew mode so I could record it, and then I put it together in the editing, and that's what you have right here. All right, so now we're going to get into the actual flight itself and how this is run as an adventure. And I'll also show you this in Flight Simulator 4 as well. But right now we're just going over the actual video itself. So when this starts, it's going to go ahead and read what the adventure is programmed to say, and I customized it so that way
Flight Simulator 4 Adventures Part 2.
So that way it kind of gives the title of the actual episode itself. I thought that would be a more unique way to go about it as opposed to the FSX ones that I've been doing, where it actually just has it, you know, in the opening sequence of, you know, this is the USA tour or North to South America tour part 2. I thought this was a unique way to actually do it here.
Portland International Airport KPDX.
And so this is like what the actual flight is.
Metropolitan KSMS. I am your flight computer.
So this is how I customized the whole text to speech. Like I was saying, this is our talking computer on the on the aircraft. You see, we don't have this in FSX and X-Plane and P3D. We don't have any talking computers there, but we do here. Well, I suppose the jumbo jets will say, you know, 6,000. Don't sink, don't sink. I don't know. Our flight computer is better. This one talks to us. Only in FS4. I might be able to do it in FS5. I think I can. I haven't gotten that far yet. We'll see. So here is the actual ATIS information. So that's going across the screen just like a regular ATIS message would, but since it's going across the screen, the text to voice is actually going to read it. And although I could have done a little bit of editing to make it a different voice or something, I wanted that to be just kind of authentic, as if you were actually playing FS4. Also, too, if you listen to this, it doesn't really pronounce things the right way.
Portland International Information Rambo.
So, like Bravo. Oh no, so this is this is okay. It's back here where it's
Airport KPDX to Sacramento Metropolitan KSMS.
Metro. So, and one thing I've learned with text to speech is sometimes you have to misspell a word in order for it to pronounce it right. Which I tried that at first, but then this looked like a mess up here, so I decided not to do that. And also it adds a little bit of humor since the text to speech just tends not to say things correctly. But anyway, I talked about this part. This is the whole part with the map, showing the flight briefing and where we're going on the map itself, which I think is a nice little addition. So you kind of get an idea of where we're actually flying, the path, you know, how we're getting there. Now I didn't use, although I used a retro font there, that's to keep it consistent with all the different chapter titles that I've got. But here I used a regular Arial font. I tried the retro font, but it started looking a little too messy. So I used a clean modern font around this, especially since there wasn't really any good scanning equipment that would show a map in this kind of detail back in those days. So this kind of keeps this quality looking the same. So we'll just skip past this part here. And then here's the startup. And of course I tune into clearance. And the way I have this programmed is you're hearing chatter from clearance. We'll go past that. Whoops. Okay. That's our pilot. Now that hash sound is the actual hash sound that comes with the Adventure and Aircraft factory. I kept that authentic. I didn't use like a modern hashtag or anything. I kept the one that was from the Aircraft and Adventure factory. But if you listen to this voice, that's the same voice that's used on Flight Simulator 2002, 2004, FSX, Prepared. I assume it's Prepared. I don't have it yet. But if we go to Edit Voice Pack, that's the name of it. In order to create your own voice files, you need to go over here under My Modifications. And down here to ICAO, this I just go here. You click this little icon here for new modification. And then you go ahead, you can name it what you want here. And then you just go ahead and you start typing in whatever phrase that you want. So like in this case it was Cessna. So we'll add in the phrase Cessna. Hold on, let's do the female version. I think it was Pilot 2. So we add that in there. We add in, it was 2019er, which stands for 2019, and then KTV is Killer TV, in case you're wondering. But there's like two, two starting off a sentence, two in the middle of a sentence, and two at the end of a sentence. So they're slightly a little bit different. Okay, so, but I won't put it all together, but you can see here 20, right? So you can hear how it puts it together. I can do like type in Portland, you know, we just add it in there. Portland. You can type in approach, you know, just, you can see all the things that it has here, vectors to final. And I downloaded a voice pack, an enhancement to the Edit Voice Pack, which adds, people have done edits to voice packs to add airports and phrases and stuff. So it makes things a lot easier when trying to find the words that you need. But let's see, approach. Where is it? There it is. So, see? So what I did is I put together all the phrases that I wanted to use the FSX voices from and recorded it. And then I had to pull it into Audacity, which is right here. And let me go and pull up my, let's see, my folder for Flight Sim 4. Where is that sucker? There it is. So right here, these are all the downloads that I did. Okay, so I recorded them. I have them as MP3s. This here, these are all the ATC. I'll go and I'll pull these here into Audacity. Here, let's kind of make this a little smaller here. So here's KBTX. This is tower frequencies. I would go in here and amplify this. Whoops. That was not what I wanted to do. Make it a little loud. Maybe not that loud. Okay, and then you just come in here and you can... Oh, see there? Happy 4th of July. So each of these, I would find the ones that I want and make them separate files. In order for this to work in Flight Simulator 4, you have to go in, you have to export not as an MP3, but you have to export as a, where are you at? Custom, other uncompressed files. You go to Options, and you're going to want to select VOC, Creative Labs, unassigned 8-bit PCM. Another thing too is you're going to want to change this project rate down here as low as it would go, 8,000. These makes the voice files smaller, but also it reduces the quality of them, and it fits FS4. It fits the way it should. Also, I think I had problems with higher quality ones. So if we were to go back, this is what I'm saying. I have a lot of windows open, hoping my computer doesn't blow up or something. So I've only been able to get VLC files to play in VLC Media Player. But if we were to organize this by type, all of these files that have a V, these are all voice files. All of these here. You see how many I've got? Yes, it took me a while to do this. But I can pull these in here.
Alaska 5, third correction, Alaska 557, contact Pullman approach 118.1.
18-1, happy 4th, Alaska 557.
Yes. See, happy 4th.
What's your departure? Good day, Southwest 64 Adventures. Sacramento Tower, Delta 7.
Say, so it reduces the quality, but makes it to where Flight Simulator 4 can actually play it. And here are the pilot voices that I recorded.
Sacramento approach, Cessna 2019 Kilo Tango Victor with you. Sacramento Tower,
See, those are
2019 Kilo Tango Victor, request clearance to land.
all the different ones that I did. And so they're all in here. Of course, you got your regular VLC files for your aircraft. No, gear down, gear up, crash. So, I mean, you get the idea there. But, so yeah, I went in here with Audacity. Here is the file that this is another thing too. Some of them, like the ones that you record, will put it into stereo. You don't want that. You want to go here, split stereo to mono, like this. Delete one of them, and be sure to change your project rate over here to 8,000. And
Shoot 1, ready for takeoff. IFR to Sacramento Metro Airport.
see, so these are all of my pilot voice phrases that I put together using this right here. And I just separate them out and make them separate files, save them out as VOC files, and then you get the result that you just heard earlier. So that is that. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the actual meat of the programming itself. This is where it starts to get a little complicated here. All right, I'm going to need to make myself disappear here so that way you can see the full screen. So over here on the right, this is an actual adventure file that you can download from flightsim.com, for example. You can look up FS4 Adventures and download, and this is what you're going to see. You can, again, these are pilot's power tools. See that right there? So what people did is they used a flight planner, which is a program, and I have that program, and it does work. And they create their flight plan, and then they import it into this pilot's power tools. And from there, it creates an adventure. And all of these adventures that you download will have this same kind of format. It has the same kind of format. And how the adventures usually start up, it prints an option. It says adventure setup. Please answer the following questions. Do you want voice? Do you want text? Do you want both? And you can see here through the programming, it checks to see which one that you selected. If not, it goes back here, but you can see, okay, if you select this, go to intro. It sets variables. This here, it sets weather. I haven't quite figured out which each of these do. I have to do a little bit more testing. But here is how the adventure starts right here. This is what it starts off with. And this is, you'll notice all the adventures that you download will look very similar. So the Pilot's Pro Tools will print this out. They'll print this to the screen. Now if we go over here, this is my adventure file. And this is one that I took an existing file and I changed it manually with all my stuff. So you can see here, required this. Here I just I typed in everything that needed to be changed. I typed in all of the frequencies, whereas here it would automatically do it for you. And over here you can see, here's the part where it says Flight Simulator 4 Adventures Part 2, blah 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 blah. Now we get into this, and this is where I do some cleanup in my actual script writing. I got it separated here. I'll put notes in, and this will not have that. It does in some areas, but as you can see, it doesn't space it out like the way I have mine spaced out. But here, this has it to where, okay, you're tuned in to this comm channel. If the variable is this, which means if you selected it to play audio, then it will play this file from your FS4 directory. And it depends upon which option you selected, it will print these to the screen. So a lot of adventures, if you select both, you'll see it will play the audio file along with the actual text itself typed in. Now I have the same thing here, but I have them commented out. I've got semicolons, so I just have this set up just as a reference to me as far as what I'm going to record the file to be, which is right here. But take a look at some of the other differences that I've got, and I don't mean just a comm channel. If you notice, I've got this set up right here to where it waits 2 seconds and then it plays a voice file. This is where you heard that tuning into clearance and you heard the channel they're start off with. That is this right here. Then it waits 4 seconds and then it plays a pilot voice. And this here is a comment, lets me know, okay, this is the voice I selected. Waits 4 seconds, and then it plays that hash tone. And then it goes into like this similar thing here. And then you can see I've got the pilot responding right here, which, you know, is not right here. So again, this is my custom thing over here on the side. I hope you can see all of that. Let me move it over a little bit. There we go. So yeah, so here I've got my pilot responding. I wait 4 seconds. It plays the hash tone again, and then it plays back the readback file. That's where the clearance is saying, yeah, read back, collect, tune in to such and such. And then right here, end if. It ends the loop. It plays a subroutine. It does a subroutine, and then it says go to loop 1, and loop 1 is down here. So this is where you start tuning into ground. And so you can see this is the same way here. I added some commands in between here, and I had to do this all manually. There is no program that will do this automatically for you. The one here on the right, yes. The one here on the left, no. The one here on the left, I had to reverse engineer this whole thing so that way I could figure out how it all worked. And it is not easy. It is very complicated. And to try to give a tutorial on how it all works, oh my goodness, that I don't even know how I would even begin to do that. Now, some other things here is the random ground chatter. That took a little bit figuring out also. So towards the beginning here, I'm going to show you both so that way you can compare of an actual adventure file. Just a standard adventure file that was created with that one program, and then my custom one here. They're the same. So it sets here which random chatter message number do you want to start with. It sets a variable, blah, blah, blah. Same thing here. Now, the chatter files for this one, the random chatter, is all the way here towards the end of the, right here. So it's ATC chatter. So this is a subroutine called traffic check. And throughout this script, it will have a go sub traffic check command. And so it will come here to this loop. It's an if-then loop. And it will check that V for variable, and there's 28 of these voice files, and it will go through and say, okay, I'm going to pick one at random, and these are all the random, like here's the written version of it, here's the actual audio file, and so it picks randomly out of those 28, and then it will it'll return back to the rest of the script up here if that's the case. So if we were to kind of go here in the middle, you can see here's a subroutine right here for traffic check. So as you're flying here, it's going through these loops and it's doing a subroutine here. Here's a subroutine for traffic check, etc., etc., etc. Now we go to mine. And I have that in here too. However, I've taken it even further. So, let's see here. So here, I have one called Go Subroutine Tower Chat, which is the subroutine that I've got for random ATC for tower. Some of them I was not able to get to work. Like I got ground to work, tower. Tower I managed to get working, I think. But there were some that just wouldn't work correctly, so I have manually put in the actual files themselves to play out the actual voice files. And where the heck is it? They're in here somewhere. Okay, I was pretty sure that I had all the departure ones listed or recorded. Maybe I did have it on random. But for example, here are all the ground chatter for the arrival airports. So KSMF, you can see I have it numbered. I'm sorry, it wasn't 28, it was 22. There's 22 random files. So here they are here. The reason why I had to list all these out and it couldn't be random is because this winds up, when this loop is over, it ends the whole program right here. EOF, end the file. And even though I had it, well, that's not ground, but I was trying to put in the subroutine for some of the stuff, and the subroutine was not working. So I had to manually put in the chatter files to have them play. And you can see I have it play this, I have it wait 11 seconds, this, and then 5 seconds. I try to make it random. But down here, you see all this. This is all the ATC chatter. So I've got the Seattle Center, and this is very similar to, where are we at here? This is similar to these. You can see I have the same extensions. The only thing that I change is this very beginning here. I've got the 3-digit identifier for the ARTCC. Try to get over here. So this one here has got 22. It'll say 21 here, but that's because there's a variable. There's a variable 0, so 0 to 21. That's 22. And so I got the same thing over here. Got same thing. But then I added more subroutines. So here is center chat 2. Then I got a center chat 3, center chat 4, and bring my face cam back here. The reason why I have these different chats, I'll move this over here so you can see it. But you can see here I got center chat 2, I got center chat 3, excuse me, center chat 4. These are all Seattle centers. And then I got Oakland Center right here, and I got 22 of those. And I have to use the same variable. That was the only way I could get this to work. So it uses the same variable as the regular center, like on the regular adventure file, but it just uses a different subroutine. And that's how I was able to get that to work. But the reason why I have several, like 4 different subroutines for the center is so that way during the whole flight, it's not randomly selecting the same 22 voice files that were recorded for center. So I have it set up to where when I get to the to the second waypoint, what it does is it runs a new subroutine that will select from a different set of 22 chatter files from center. When it gets to the next waypoint, which is like 60, 70 miles, down the road, then it will select a new set of chatter files. And again, when I get to the next waypoint where I would need to change the center, it runs a new subroutine that then selects the files that I recorded for Oakland Center. So if we were to go, I don't know, somewhere here in the middle. Nope, that's touchdown. Okay, over here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can see here, my notes here is we're waiting to get to Medford VR. So basically it's playing this loop as we're flying until we get to the Medford VOR. And that's where this stuff comes in. This is where it starts getting really complicated. This is where I had a lot of testing to figure out, okay, if the XY coordinates are this, then it detects what radio you're on from whatever VOR you've got this selected to, or basically the XY coordinates of it. And then if your comm radio is tuned into this, and if cylinder, think of a circle. If you're within 8 miles of this circle based on the XY coordinates of the center, which I have here saying, okay, that's the Medford VRR. So if this is true, then it goes to this loop, which plays the hashtag, it plays this audio file, and then if I had the print down here, it would go ahead and print this on the screen as well. And so when we get to the next loop, right here, loop 10, so here we go, there's another VRR, and here I got it going, go subroutine center chat 4 instead of 3. And then if we get to loop 11, then you can see that I now have is doing the Go subroutine for the Oakland Center chat. So I hope I'm not moving too fast. Like I said, this is very, very complicated. It took me weeks to figure this out. Lots of trial and errors. Oh my word, it was crazy. I hope that is giving you an idea of how I put this together. There was no program that I had that would be able to spit this adventure out. I had to take an existing adventure and go in there, figure out what was what worked. Basically, because there's all these things. There's all these radials and cylinders, and all of these points change, and I didn't know what they referred to. It was through multiple testings and comparing one adventure file with another adventure file to see what was the same, what was different. Oh my goodness. Like I said, I reverse engineered it. And then when I got that working, then I started putting in all my little custom stuff. But now that I know how this works and I got a basis for it, I'll be able to create more adventures, custom-made adventures. It still takes time, though. It still takes time to go in here, because then once this text is done, then you have to compile it. You have to compile the adventure. So let's go into DOSBox here. So if you want that text to speech to work, assuming you got the drivers and stuff, you have to put in SB Talk. That starts that off, and then it goes in here, smooth talker, male voice, blah 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 blah. All right, and then if you want to compile an adventure, you have to type in AAF, which is the Aircraft Adventure Factory. So that's the actual DOS command for this program. And then let me just take a different text file. This is Kankakee to Merle C. Meggs. This is one that can be downloaded, and also that's what this file here is, not mine. Okay, this is the one that I downloaded that I based all of my adventures off of. So if you were to take this text file, now you have to compile it into an adventure. So you type in, okay, IKK-CGX, then you have to do this and put the adventure thing at the end, and then hit enter, and it will do this. And then as long as all of your commands, and there's no errors or anything, it'll say compilation successful. And yes, there have been many times where I was compiling an adventure and it threw an error at the end. And then I had to go through and double check all my programming. In some cases, I had to take sections of the programming, copy it onto an adventure that I knew worked, until I got to a part where it didn't work. And then I was able to narrow down where that error was at. And oh my goodness, yeah, it was such a mess. So let's go in to Flight Simulator 4. Oh no, my joystick is calibrated. I gotta unplug that. Hold on here. This thing does not play nice with joysticks. Okay, so we've got Flight Simulator 4 on right here. We need to go to the NavCom menu, Scenery Library. We're going to select West here. Okay, and here we are. So this is the actual airport that we started off with at Portland. I'll go here into slew mode. And we'll just turn around here. Whoops. Oh, it's getting kind of messy because I had that joystick thing on. Yeah, but okay, so here it is. You can see it. It's going all over the place. Oh, what a mess. All right, hold on here. All right, I had quit DOSBox, went back into it, so that way I could use the keyboard without it messing things up. Okay, so we flew around. Here's the airport. This is Portland. These buildings that you're seeing here, okay. This flashing, if you see this, go into your views, go to display control. You want to get rid of this flicker here. So turn that to where it says no flicker slow. Don't worry, I'm sure you have a modern computer running DOSBox. And you want to make sure your cycles are higher, and then boom, you're no more flicker. It's all gone. So all these buildings are ones that I custom made using the Scenery Designer. Scenery Designer is right down here. Scenery Design. Here's your Adventure Factory, your aircraft design. So all of these buildings I have put in here, and I looked at a satellite. I looked at a satellite image to try to get an idea of what buildings I should place where. The only building that actually is at this airport as a standard is this one right here, right smack here in the middle. I'm trying to go down here, not the tower. And the way that you know is if you look at the border, there's a black line. So it's got a nice black line around it, which is not something that I can do with the Scenery Designer. As you can see here, they're just regular blocks. So there's no outline around them. And then, of course, I was telling you about the see, there's my dynamic scenery just moving along there. So this guy, he's going to taxi over here. Whoops. As we spin around. So he's going to be taxiing. You can see there's one that's landing. And these I recorded. You know, you start the recording, and then you move your aircraft exactly how you want your dynamic scenery to go. So I recorded one loop to where I'm taxiing over here down the taxiway and taking off, just like I recorded one of me landing and taxiing over here to the terminal. Same idea. And then there's this little plane right over here. Same thing. I started off over in this area here. There's a couple of planes already there. They don't move. But I started over there. I just taxied all the way down to the end of the runway and took off. And see, there's another one that just came in right there. So this is another one that I recorded when I was off here. Came in, landed, took him to an area and parked him and ended that. So there you can see the dynamic stuff. If you want to get a little bit more into this, let's see. It's under Scenery Design, Dynamic Scenery Designer. You click on this and see, and here are the actual patterns that I recorded. So I named them such and such. And when oh man, I have to go into edit. But basically, when you record one, then you can select what aircraft you want it to be. Do you want it to be a 767, a Learjet, a Cessna? I think there's a glider, but it's very limited. I mean, there's not. Unfortunately, you can't select. This is what I was hoping for, was that I could download things like custom aircraft that people created, like Delta and TWA and American, and then be able to select those objects to be able to taxi around. Oh, that would be so cool. You'd be able to see these airlines or even use them as static files. And that way you could see them at the airport. Unfortunately, you can't. At least I don't know of a way that you can. So it uses just basic objects at the airport. So really, the only aircraft that's going to be taxiing around or flying that has a livery on it, American or whatever, is going to be you. Even if you select that and record it. Now, when you select something, and let me back up here. And, oh, where's the edit function here? Go back to Scenery Designer. Okay, I guess it was in here somewhere. See more. Oh, I guess it's dynamic. No? Record pattern? Oh, frick. I don't remember. Well, here, the record pattern. So if you select C, so this is where you say begin your pattern recording, stop your pattern recording, just hit the Y button. This is where you record your dynamic scenery or your AI traffic. Okay, so here is one of the patterns, Park 767. So right here, model Boeing 767. You can change, whoops, that's the wrong key. So you can make them active or inactive. You can have patterns here where, okay, when it ends, does it start over? Does it loop, or does it just end? I just have start over because you may never be at the airport when things are happening. So sometimes it's good to just have it keep going, so that way you're constantly having what appears to be traffic coming in. Otherwise, it's kind of like you got traffic and then it disappears. You don't see anything anymore. But here are the models. So you got a 767, a Grumman F-14, a Schweitzer, a red. Okay, so you got automobiles. You got automobiles that you can put in here, a fuel truck, a sailboat, a Cessna, Learjet, and then we're back to 767 again. And that's it. They're just basic objects. You can't select any custom ones. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to put them in there. I don't know. And then, of course, with the static scenery designer, this is the scenery that I created. Also, too, do you notice how this is what I was talking about in regards to file capacity? So, the scenery stuff doesn't usually take too much, but if I go to the dynamic one here, do you see how it says file capacity used 99%? You can't do a whole lot. It'll fill up. As a matter of fact, at the destination airport, the last thing that I recorded was a fuel truck that was moving. It did not record the whole thing. So I recorded the whole movement, but it only went to a certain part and then it stopped because it was 99% full. And this right here is just Portland. So everything that you're seeing is just Portland. I have a separate dynamic file for Sacramento. And so, and this is where I did some changes with the editing. When I got to a certain point, I paused the simulator, I loaded in the other dynamic file, and then I kept going. And so that's something in post-production that I would go ahead and clean up, so that way you had a nice, smooth flight. So again, it is the full flight. I'm just cutting out the garbage stuff in between, like going to a menu option to change the weather or make sure the clouds were showing up, or writing down the coordinates in case I had a nasty crash or something. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna put myself down here towards on the ground, and then we'll turn slow-mo off. So I don't have it on here where it's, oh, it just came right through me. I don't have it where it prints on the screen, press this for text, press this for voice, press R for both, but the command is still there. So hit R. Oh, well, I guess it would help if I load the adventure. So you go over here to Adventure Factory, and you're going to want to select the adventure. This is it right here, E. Also, too, there's something here called mixing engine noise. Now, what this is when it plays an audio file, it'll still have the engine sound behind it. If you have that off, it cuts off the engine sound and you just hear the audio file. You may prefer it that way. I think it sounds weird, so I have the engine noise going on in the background. So I have that set to on. So we select the adventure file, and then we... Okay, so I have that there as a reminder. I didn't record that for the video. I have obviously stopped after that. So I hit R.
Flight Simulator 4 Adventures Part 2.
And we let it do its thing here.
International Airport APDX. To Sacramento Metropolitan KSMF.
Now's a good time to get water.
Flight computer. Startup is approved. To in Portland clearance delivery on 120.15. To Portland is on 128.35.
Oh yeah, another thing too. Over here in mode, you got to go to your sound control panel. You have to make sure that your text-to-speech is on. This is pretty much it right here. So I have it set to all messages. You can change this. So anything it prints to the screen, it's going to read. You could set it to none. You could set it to just the comms or ATIS. But no, I've got it set to all messages. So we've got that. Man, what was center? Or clearance? Was it 121.35? No? Man, I wasn't paying attention. Hold on. Let's go to my actual text file, because I put this all in as a reference. So clearance delivery is 120.15. And in the script, here it is, on the ground, receiving clearance. Here's the loop. If comm is set to this, then it's going to wait 2 seconds. It's going to play that chatter file I recorded. Then it's going to play my pilot. And then it's going to play the hash. And then it's going to play the recorded file that I created of clearance delivery, which says this stuff here. So let's set it to 120.15. 120.15. Okay, do you hear the engine in the background? That's the thing that I selected. Typically, you want to have your engine on. If you don't have it on, it's going to play that sound in the background. And we'll start the aircraft here. So there's the pilot. So here it is here. It's going to wait 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hash. There it is there. Now we go to loop 1. So here it is, loop 1. It's waiting for me to have that. If I don't, it's going to play something down here where it says, hey, stupid, tune in to 121.90. See? So we go ahead and do that. Here's the voice. 6 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ash. Voice. And so that voice, here's the pilot. So that voice is from ProFlight Emulator. That's something I put together, so we have some different voices going on. So it does this. It checks, I don't know, some type of variable. Goes to loop 2. Here's loop 2. So we should be hearing some random ground chatter here. Oh, that's because I wasn't moving. because I didn't move, it thinks I'm at the runway. Alright, so we'll just switch it. So I had to be moving. Okay, say I didn't check the transponder. Ah, there's my random chatter. That's for tower. Let's take a look at that. This is takeoff in wrong direction. Taking off. Okay, so here's departure. Here's 118.10. No, sorry, we want tower. That's ground. Tower, where are you? Here it is. Okay, so here's the tower frequency. Here's transponder. It's checking to see if your transponder is tuned in to 5273. So, tune in 527. I don't have to have that in there, but it adds a nice little realism thing. So there it goes. Now, as long as I'm flying in the right direction, it'll be fine. And that's why it checks this loop here, saying, okay, if your heading is, see, it's supposed to be runway 28. So if it's negative 15 degrees this direction, or plus 15 degrees this direction, then you're going to be fine. It's going to go to loop 3, which is down here, which will play my random tower chat, and it just keeps going, moves on to departure. But if you don't, then you start getting these messages that you departed from the wrong runway. So let's just take off in the wrong direction and see what happens here. We're just going to take up. We're just going to go this direction, and I don't know. Let's go this direction, this way. Now, there's one of my planes taking off. Yeah, we'll go this way. So we're going off in this direction.
Cessna 2019 Kilo Tango Victor. You have departed from the wrong runway. Your license is hereby revoked. Squawk 7777 2121.5 and activate your ELT. Your aircraft is being set to descend and maintain 0.
So then the Adventure does something to your plane that makes it go down or something. I don't know. And I had to use a text-to-speech generator to make it say those actual words. Those are the same words that are in a regular adventure file. But yeah. So anyway, pause that, and I hope this is giving you kind of an idea of how I put this stuff together. So these are real flights, real flight adventures that I'm putting together. It's not editing trickery at all. So what you see is what I'm actually flying. Hey, I want to enjoy this too. You know, I want to have a fun, adventurous flight. It's not going to be fun if I'm sitting there and adding 200 some wave files for air traffic control and stuff. No, that's not fun. So I just gather all the stuff, I program it into the adventure, and then I just go fly it, record it, and then, you know, throughout the flight I'll do external views, you know, like right here. Here are some external views. And then as we get further down, I'll start adding some of my music segments. So this is a song that I recorded here called Get Ready for a Surprise. And I don't spend a whole lot of time coming up with titles. I listen to the song and think, what does this remind me of? I don't know. There was something in there, something in the song that made me think, uh-oh, something's coming. And then I started thinking of Total Recall, when that fake head that Arnold Schwarzenegger was wearing says, "Get ready for a surprise." Boom. That was where I got the idea for the title of this. But so here's the song. And these are just all external shots that I took. I would like zoom in, zoom out, and you can see by all of these, you know, here's all the edits and stuff. So you obviously, this is not something I'm switching around in the actual game itself and being able to do it in sync with the music. No, this is actual post-production, as well as the titles coming up and everything. Now you may be wondering, how in the world did I get this? How am I getting these flybys and stuff? What am I doing? How is that all working? Good question. So in order to do that, you have to select your control tower. Set your control tower. So here, position set, hit A, and you're going to select your control tower. And the easiest way to do that is go to 8. And I can go, let's see, let's make the altitude a little bit higher than the plane. We'll say, I don't know, 1100. Is that too much? That's too much. 10. No, actually, that should be right. Yeah, we'll just start off with that. Do that. You need to select your view. Make sure that you're on the right one. Okay, that's your, you know, your regular external views. That's your internal. This is your control tower. So there it goes. It's pointing right to the plane. Do pause, and there it goes. It looks like it's, yeah, it's got smoke because it's going down. And it's got smoke because that's what the adventure told it to do. Going back to the adventure file, here it is. Take off in wrong direction. It's going to go to loop. Where is it here? Oh, it didn't play my voice apparently. I had something where it's like, oh crap. It didn't play it. Guess that didn't work out. Maybe I need to put it over here inside this end loop here. But it's supposed to somewhere in here. Here it is. Loop 2C. You can see it starts enabling smoke and all this stuff. So that's why it's doing that. But so that's how I get those external shots. It takes a little bit of trial and error as far as setting your control tower up in the air and getting it in the right spot. So that way when you unpause the simulator, you get that nice little flying flyby effect. So there you go. Oh, that's a lot of information, isn't it? Hope that was helpful. I hope this made sense. It's a lot of stuff. It is a lot of stuff. And like I was saying, this takes several days, a week or so to actually get a flight ready. And the longer the flight is, the more complicated it is to get that adventure together. And then once I get it, then I got to fly it and record it. And then once it's recorded, then I've got to get it into the editing program and then put it all together, add my music, and it's a lot of work. But it's fun. It's fun. I like the result that I get out of it, and I'm hoping that you guys like it also. And I almost forgot the most important part of the video, and that was the fireworks at the end. The fireworks show, my goodness, I was looking all over the place to try to find a good retro fireworks program. And so far, the only thing I was able to find was for the Commodore 64. This is using the emulator CCS64. I have used this for years. And it's fantastic. So in order to load up the program, does it have a history of what I loaded? No, it doesn't look like it. Alright, so I'm going to go to load disk drive, device number 8. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, no, that's not it. I'm trying to go backwards here. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, so these are all different types of Commodore 64 games that I got. And some of these here it is. So, and some of these I've actually done videos on this channel, like Space Taxi, I've done a video on this channel. Rocky Horror Picture Show, Mail Order Monsters. So all those I've done. I want to do Summer Games 1 and 2. A lot of these games I grew up with. I grew up with this stuff. Summer Games 1 and 2, Winter Games, Forgotten Forest. Here's Flight Simulator 2. So here it is. It's called the Complete Computer Fireworks. Go in here. This is the disk image, and we'll go ahead and boot that up. So here it is loading. And this is even more complicated. I wasn't able to save what I did, but I just went into the program and I changed all this stuff at the bottom as far as the fireworks and stuff. And you do that by going into the functions here. So you have to, oh yeah, that's right, I can't use arrow keys. I have to use I had to look up the controls. It's weird. Come on, what's going on here? Down, I think it's F7. There it goes. Okay, so let's see, F3, F5. Okay, so it's a real complicated set of scripts here where it's like, okay, do this, then put in these words. So this is the stuff that I changed. Everything else is the same. I just went in here and I changed the words to where it was giving a message to all flight simmers, blah blah blah. It's like, welcome to Sacramento, and all that other stuff. And then here's the song it plays, and it does another type of fireworks, does it twice, then a bumblebee one. Then it puts in new words. And so I went in here and changed all the words, and I think there's like 99 of these different commands or something. So it took me a little bit to go through here and change everything, but yeah, Oh, hey, how do we get back? How do we get back? I guess we have to go back up here, and then there's play, and then... So, we're back to the thing again, so... But that was the only thing I could find. I looked for stuff that would be on MS-DOS. I couldn't find anything decent. I found one program that was just, it just wasn't that good. And then I finally found this thing for the Commodore 64. Because I was thinking, because I grew up with the Commodore 64, so I was thinking, is there something for the Commodore 64? And lo and behold, I found something. So I decided to use that. And it fits the time period. I mean, the Commodore 64 was, you know, still being used in that time period along with the Commodore Amiga. So I thought it fit. Okay, there you go. That's the behind the scenes in regards to FS4 Adventures. As you can see and probably imagine, this is something that takes time to do. This is not just a simple fly from one location to another. I want to do more than that. Not only for myself to have a nice experience with the flying, but I want to do it for all of you too. I want to be able to provide something that you've never really seen before. You something that you've never really experienced before. And maybe it's something that you dreamed about, but you just don't have the means to be able to put it all together. Well, these videos are for you. They're for your enjoyment. I don't want to keep this all to myself. I want to be able to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy them. I have plenty of flight sim videos on this channel. I'm doing a variety of different type of stuff. So if it seems like the FS4 videos kind of stop, just be patient. I'm only one guy. There's only so much I can do. I will eventually get back to it. I'm kind of rotating around doing different types of things. And this FS4 Adventures is a side project that I'm working on as compared to the World Tour series that I'm doing with all the different simulators where they're all following the same flight plan, which will allow you to see how it looks different with each version of the flight simulators. So I took a side quest, if you will, to do FS4 Adventures, to do some experimenting and really trying to pump that game up, or that simulator up, so that way I can do the same thing with the World Tour series. So that was kind of the reason why I put the World Tour on hold for the moment, so that way I can go back to these older simulators and make use of these different add-ons and stuff that I got, so that way I can incorporate them back into the World Tour. So if you're disappointed that the World Tour went on hiatus, don't be. There's a reason why, because I want to make them even better, and that's why I'm going off to the side and doing this type of stuff. And I want to do the same type of thing with Flight Simulator 5. I don't think I need to do with 98. I think I'm doing a pretty good job with 98. Although there is a program that I have. Where did I put it? It's over there somewhere. I think it's called Mayday Mayday. It will, it adds a few things to Flight Simulator 98, like pushback. So I want to be able to get that going. And I've also got that Apollo collection. There's like Europe 1 and Europe 2. I don't mean that, but there's like Apollo collection that's got their like jumbo jets and things. And I want to be able to make use of that and put them into the actual air traffic that you have to record and yourself. And it helps populate the airports and really makes it look kind of cool. So it's little things like that that I'm wanting to dig into, so that way when I get back to the World Tour series, I can pump the quality of those up even more. So, but anyway, that's it. That's all I've got on this. I know this is probably a long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative and useful. And if you're looking to do this type of thing on your own, and even make videos, I would love to see them. Just let me know. But I hope this is an inspiration for you, if this is something that you would like to do, and hopefully this gives you kind of an idea of what I've done. And hey, you know, maybe you'll find better ways of how to do this, or maybe things that I didn't even think of. So I look forward to seeing whatever work you guys do. And then that, thanks so much for joining me on this video and on this channel as well. I've got tons of things on this channel. I try to do a variety of different stuff to try to attract different types of viewers here. So if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. It will let you know when I get some new videos up. And plus, I love the support. I love to know that you guys are out there. Don't be afraid to comment on videos. I love to hear from you. If there's something that you think I can improve, don't be afraid. Let me know. I'm good with conversation. But that's it. Thanks for joining me. And I'll see you on another Flight Sim video. And I'll see you on another Shep Rambles video. Take care.